Hey coaches, have you ever noticed that most Q&A and group laser coaching sessions are painfully boring? You know the drill. People show up unprepared, someone monopolizes the conversation, meetings start late and run long, and most folks leave feeling frustrated and disappointed without having received the feedback, information, or experience they expected and wanted. But here's the thing. When you're running the meeting, group sessions don't actually have to suck. I'm Noize, and I've been running successful group sessions, including classes, Q&As, laser coaching, for over 20 years. Today's smart idea is how to run group sessions that don't suck. In today's videos, you'll learn exactly how to run group meetings that your clients and prospects will love, because I'm sharing my step-by-step process that transforms boring group sessions into valuable, engaging experiences that can delight your clients and build your business. By the end of this video, you'll have a complete roadmap for running group meetings that work for all participants and leave them wanting more of your coaching services and expertise. First, let's talk about why so many group sessions fail. I see the same 5 big problems over and over again. 1. Disrespecting everyone's time by starting late and/or running long. 2. Boredom, because participants aren't prepared to actually engage or because your responses go on way too long. 3. Frustration, because 1 or 2 participants just won't shut up and the facilitator, that's you, allows them to monopolize the conversation. 4. Superficial interactions like low-value content that feels like information gatekeeping, especially when the host, again, I'm talking about you, is not actually coaching the issues that clients bring up, or says something like, you have to pay to get my answer to that question. And 5, disappointment when participants don't feel seen or heard because the facilitator doesn't make sure that each and every person gets a chance to participate. So their specific questions or issues don't get addressed, making the whole meeting feel like a monumental waste of time. Ooh, sound familiar? If you've ever sat through a painfully boring and unproductive Q&A or laser coaching session that you've paid for, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And full disclosure, that's what inspired me to make this video today. But there's good news. With just a little focus and the right structure, you can flip this script. Your clients will be thrilled, more likely to take next steps, and feel genuinely inspired by your guidance. Let's be clear about our agenda today here. There are so many types of group sessions you can offer as a coach, and here's my list of 3 easy ways to use Q&As and/or group laser coaching in your new coaching practice. First, as a lead generation or sales tool, this would look like a free one-time meeting. Second, as a low-cost entry-level service for new clients, maybe a short-term group coaching thing or a try before you buy, a bigger package type thing. And third, as an upsell to support your larger programs or courses. Obviously, there are a lot of reasons to host Q&As and group laser coaching sessions or combos of the two. Look, there are many different types of group meetings, but today we're narrowing the focus to these types of group sessions that work well for new coaches particularly. We're not talking about the quick Q&As after presentations or ongoing group coaching, although, now that I think about it, many of these tips will actually apply. Let's start with the foundation, and this is non-negotiable. Start and end your meetings on time. I can't stress this enough. When you start late because you're waiting for more people, you're disrespecting and punishing everyone who made the effort to show up on time and teaching them to show up late the next time. And when you run over, you're forcing people to choose between their other commitments and potentially missing something valuable with you. They don't want to make that choice. And if they do decide to walk out, they will not be happy with you for forcing that decision, no matter how well the rest of the meeting went. Bottom line, start and end on time, period. Now, as to how long these meetings should be, until you get a lot of experience, I recommend 50 minutes max. If you're just starting out with Q&As or group laser coaching, you may want to do shorter meetings, say 30 to 45 minutes, unless you have over 10 confirmed attendees. Now, here's why. When the window for the meeting is too long, people think they can arrive late and still get their questions answered or their laser coaching mini session, which can create a whole new set of problems. If people are late and the meeting runs long, each person gets less time on the schedule, and again, nobody's happy. So no matter what length you choose, always announce the meeting length and the participant limit, if there is one, and the process in advance. No surprises, not for you not for your participants. Otherwise, you could find yourself twiddling your thumbs waiting for people to show up and/or having to adjust your timing as people arrive late. Making these adjustments on the fly can create havoc with your nerves and upset the folks who arrived on time, because the situation changes through no fault of theirs to benefit people who didn't bother to show up on time. Uncool, man. Before your meeting, you need a solid registration system. I strongly recommend that you require registration and send an immediate confirmation so people can add it to their calendars. Pretty basic, right? Here's my registration sequence that works really well to prepare the attendees and to minimize no-shows. First, send a confirmation upon registration with all the details. Then send one reminder the day before, asking people to cancel if the meeting no longer fits their schedule. This way, you can alert your waiting list that spots opened up. Then send a 2-hour alert on the day of the event. So text or email. I recommend using both for these messages. And you might be wondering if you should ask for questions in advance. Yes, especially if you want to be well prepared. This also gives you a chance to answer questions that several people have at the top of the meeting, which can prime the pump, so to speak, for the rest of the question. And it gives you something to talk about if folks are late instead of huffing and puffing and waiting for more people to show up. But if you ask for questions in advance, make sure you actually answer at least some of those questions in the meeting, or people will feel ignored, confused, or frustrated, which is probably not the vibe you're going for, is it? Now let's walk through the actual meeting structure. I'm going to give you the timeline and scripts for how I do it, but you can obviously do it your own way, and you should. My examples are just so you can see what I mean and to inspire your thinking about how you want your meetings to be organized and how you want your participants to feel. As people arrive, welcome them personally. Actually, say their names and make a note of the arrival sequence. This is important for turn order. So rather than waiting until everybody shows up, reward the early birds by giving them turns first. Keep in mind that you will continue to welcome new arrivals as they come in, but you're not going to wait until everybody arrives to start because you're going to follow your schedule and your script. When it's time to start, signal that you're starting by welcoming the group. Here's my opening script. Good morning and welcome to today's live Q&A or group laser coaching session. I'm Ronnie Noize, your marketing coach, and I'm delighted to see you here. Let's go over our agenda so you know exactly what to expect today. As you can see, I'm making sure that everybody knows the deal in my script. After the welcome message, you can acknowledge any latecomers briefly, but don't restart your intro. Now you're going to review the agenda. Clearly setting expectations by going over the meeting agenda helps reduce anxiety and confusion and increases participant satisfaction with the experience. Now, I usually say something like this. Let's talk about how this works. Each person gets 4 minutes of my undivided attention, and that includes your questions as well as my answer. I'll use a timer to make sure everyone gets their turn. Don't worry, I'll watch it for you. Ask your most important questions first, and remember to keep it short. And please don't interrupt other people's turns, but feel free to use the chat for any comments or suggestions you want to make. As you can see, this script is obviously for virtual meetings, but you can tailor it for on-site meetings easily. If the audience is new to you, you may also want to ask if there are any questions before you get started. Next, you get right to it. Announce the start of the process, starting with the turn order. I like to say something like, so let's get started. Here is our order. Person A, then B, C, D. Person A, you're up first. Person B, you're on deck next, so get ready. For each turn, I say something like, Person A, the timer starts when you start talking. What's your question? Then I start the timer. You'll notice that I am not a fan of just calling on whoever raises their hand. People are at the meeting for a reason, and if they know they'll get a turn, they can prepare and they'll stay. But allowing the loudest or most confident audience members to go first or monopolize your attention feels unfair to those who have to wait. And they may bail because they don't trust you to give them your time and attention. So back to the interaction. When time's up, allow them to hear the timer bell. It may interrupt you or the client, but it doesn't matter. It's a clear ending point that you need to honor. When you hear the bell or whatever notification sound you've chosen, thank them and signal who's up next and who's on deck. I say something like, and that's our time. Thank you, Person A. Person B, you're up next, followed by Person C and Person D. Person B, please unmute yourself and ask your question. So here's a pro tip. Briefly repeat the crux of each question or issue before answering. This helps everyone follow along and creates natural highlights for the transcript. Plus, it helps you focus on exactly what you're talking about in your response. Let's say you're coaching a group of entrepreneurs about marketing, like I used to do, and the client says something like, I'm trying to sell my services, but nobody's buying. Then you might say, nobody's buying your services? Tell me about your sales process. That echoing of the crux of their question communicates that you heard the situation and helps you hone in on where this very short conversation needs to go. Because if the client doesn't clearly get that you understand the issue, they will waste time trying to make sure you understand and then spend all their time talking when they're there to work with you and to hear what you have to say. Does that make sense? Sadly, some clients just won't get this and will spend the entire time talking, either to aggrandize themselves in front of other participants or to add unnecessary context, or just to tell stories about themselves because people like to talk about themselves. By being super clear about how the process works up front, you can reduce these types of situations because clients who do this will not leave happy. They'll feel like everybody else got a turn except them, even when they had exactly the same time, and they will blame you. After everyone has had their turn, it's time to wrap it up. You want to make sure your participants are getting value from the event, so you draw their attention to it with what I call the sparkle. Other names for this are the takeaway, the value, and so on, whatever you call it. This is your checkout process, and it is essential for ending on time and on a positive note. I say something like, we're in the final stretch now. Before we wrap it up, let's hear what everyone's taking away. What sparkled for you in today's meeting? We'll go in arrival order again, starting with person A, then B, C, D, and so on. We'll keep it brief, so 10 seconds is plenty. Person A, what sparkled for you today? Heads up, if you don't keep responses to about 10 to 15 seconds each, you're opening the door to continued conversation instead of winding down gracefully. Now, once in a while, somebody will get their feelings hurt because they talked instead of allowing themselves to be coached, or they feel defensive about the questions you asked or the answers you gave. These people are likely to say that nothing sparkled for them. The best response to that is the same as your response to every other sparkle, which is, thank you, then move on. Also, keep in mind that sometimes the sparkle will come from your interaction with another participant, and this is nothing to worry about. Remember that their time goes really fast when they're working with you, and they may need time to process. They're more relaxed listening to other folks during the meeting and will likely find a lot of value from that if they let themselves. At the very end, close definitively with a script that thanks and explicitly ends the meeting. Here's what I used to say. Great stuff, everybody, and that's it for today. Thank you for being here. Our time together is now complete. This is Ronnie Noize reminding you that today is a great day for marketing. Bye, everyone. Now everybody can leave, knowing that they're not going to miss anything, and you've kept your promise to end the meeting on time. Good for you. Let's talk about troubleshooting tips for common situations. Every now and then you get a question for whatever reason you can't really answer on the spot, and if you don't know, just say so and make any suggestions for resources they can use to find the answer. For overly broad questions, you might say something like, that's a huge question, and I'm happy to give a general answer unless you have something more specific you'd like to know. If they don't, won't, or can't get more specific, give them your top 3 rules of thumb on the topic or suggest first steps for getting started with it. Want to add even more value? Here are some options. If running the meeting in real life on site, consider getting folks involved in the process by asking for volunteers to manage the turn sequence, by making the list, and handle the timing instead of doing it yourself. Just make sure they understand to give verbal cues or use flags or signage or even a bell to indicate the final 30 seconds and the end time. Another idea to boost value is to offer post-meeting content, such as a link to the recording, a written summary with action items, the full transcript, a slide deck, and/or a list of takeaways. This can be mailed or posted in your online community space. Finally, if you don't want to do Q&As or group laser coaching, you can also try other formats like feedback sessions, where each person brings something specific for review. Remember to always start your feedback with something positive, sandwich in any criticism or suggestions for improvement, and end with encouragement. Bottom line, the key to successful group meetings comes down to 3 things. Managing expectations clearly, using a solid structure with equal time for everyone, and knowing exactly what you want to say for each part of the process, which is why I recommend using scripts. When you do this right, you're not just answering questions or delivering powerful coaching. You're building relationships, demonstrating your expertise, and creating experiences that deliver what people really want, which is the chance to connect with you in a respectful, informative, and inspiring interaction. Okay, coach, that's it for today. If this was helpful, give this video a like and let me know in the comments what sparkled for you. Thanks for watching. I'm Ronnie Noize, reminding you that today is a great day for coaching.